Good morning, everyone. We are back with another math lesson, and we are starting Unit 9 today. We are on Lesson 9.1. So, as usual, you should have your math journal, a pencil, and a piece of paper. And we're going to get started with our warm-up. On your piece of paper, I am going to show you a number, and I would like you to write down as many factor pairs as you can for that number. So, the first number is 9. Would you write down as many factor pairs? Remember, factor pairs are numbers you would multiply to get this answer. Good. You could have written down 1 and 9 and 3 and 3. Would you write down as many factor pairs as you can for the number 12? And to get 12, you could multiply 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. All right, same thing. Would you write down as many factor pairs as you can for the number 32? There were 3 factor pairs, 1 and 32, 2 and 16, and 4 and 8. How about for the number 45? How many factor pairs can you find for the number 45? There were 3 again. 1 and 45, 3 and 15, and 5 and 9. Each of those pairs multiply to equal 45. All right, 2 more, and they're a little larger. How many factor pairs can you write down for the number 70? There are 4 factor pairs for the number 70. They are 1 and 70, 2 and 35, 5 and 14, that was tricky, and 7 and 10. And finally, how many factor pairs can you write down for the number 80? There are 5 factor pairs for 80. They are 1 and 80, 2 and 40, 4 and 20, 5 and 16, and 8 and 10. All right. Also, on your sheet of paper, let's look at the math message. It says, please record a basic multiplication fact with a product of 63. So, what times what equals 63? You should have written down 7 times 9 equals 63. They've written it 63 equals 7 times 9, and we know you can write it either way. The equal sign can be on either side of the number sentence. All right, look at these facts. 6 times 10, 7 times 10, 6 times 9, and 8 times 9. Would you write down which of these facts have a product that's greater than 63? Which of these facts have a product greater than 63? So, 6 times 10 is 60. That is not greater than 63. 7 times 10 is 70. That is greater than 63. 6 times 9, 54. That is not greater than 63. And 8 times 9 is 72. So that is greater than 63. Now I want you to take a close look at the numbers, the factors, 7 and 10, and 8 and 9, and see how they compare to our original factors of 7 times 9. When you compare 7 times 10 to 7 times 9, you would notice that the 9 has gone up to 10. And when you compare 8 times 9 to 7 times 9, you would notice that the 7 has gone up to 8. So anytime you take a factor pair, for example, 7 times 9, and you increase either factor, your answer or your product is also going to increase or be larger. All right, today we are going to learn a new game called Product Pileup. I am going to post the directions on the website, and I'm going to ask you to play at home, but we're going to go through and play a little bit together now so you have an idea. Here are the directions. You will need number cards 1 through 10. Remember that if you just have a regular deck of playing cards, you can use those, or you can also use the number cards on your e-toolkit. It says you need 3 players. If you have 2 more people at home who you can play with, that's great. You can play with 3 players. If you just have yourself and somebody else, I'm going to show you how you can play with just 2 players. And we're going to do this game to practice our math facts 1 through 10. So under directions, it says, take turns being the dealer. Shuffle and deal 8 cards to each player. Place the rest of the deck number side down. So you pass out 8 cards. Each person who's playing gets to see their cards, but not the other person's. So when you deal them face down. The player to the left of the dealer begins. Of course, if you're just playing with 2 people, the person who's not the dealer will begin. This player selects 2 cards from his or her hand and places them number side up on the table. Then he or she multiplies the numbers and says the product aloud. Once that person puts down 2 of their cards, multiplies them and says the product, then the other player needs to look at their hand and find 2 cards that they can multiply to come up with a product larger than their opponent. If the other person does not have 2 cards in their hand that can multiply to equal larger than what their opponent put down, then they need to draw 2 cards from the deck. Hopefully, when they draw 2 cards, then they can come up with a product greater than what was laid down. But if they can't, they have to pass and just keep those cards in their hand. The winner is the first player to run out of cards, or the person with the fewest cards when there are no more cards left in the draw pile. So let's just look together at how this might look. I have my e-toolkit number cards here, 1 through 10. And for just showing you, I'm going to deal these face up. If you're playing for real, you would deal them face down. But player 1 would get 8 cards. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's player 1's card. Now let's deal 8 to player 2. 1, 2, let's move over. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right, so player 1 has in their hand an 8, a 3, an 8, a 5, a 1, a 2, a 2, and a 6. And player 2 has a 7, a 7, a 5, a 3, a 3, a 4, a 2, and an 8. So if player 1 had dealt these out, then it would be player 2's turn to start. And player 2 might say, or turn over onto the table, 7 times 8. And then that person would say, 7 times 8 is 56. So now it's player 1's turn to look at their cards and pick 2 cards that they can put down that when multiplied equal greater than 56. What would you choose? Yeah, player 1 could put down 8 and 8, which equals 64, and that is correct. Then it would be player 1's turn to put down 2 cards. So player 1 might put down a 5 and a 6 and say that equals 30. So now player 2 has to look at their hand and say, what can I put down that equals greater than 30? What do you see? Yeah, 7 and 5 equals 35, which is greater than 30. Now, back to player 2's turn. Player 2 could say 4 times 3 is 12. Now, player 1 has to come up with 2 cards that when multiplied is greater than 12. It does not appear that player 1 has any cards that they can multiply to be greater than 12. So they're going to have to pick 2 more cards from the pile. So 2 more cards, that was lucky. So this player just got a 9 and a 6, but remember, they only have to beat 12. So they may not want to use both the 9 and the 6. Those are both big cards. What could player 1 play to beat 12? Yeah, they could play 3 times 6 is 18, and that beats it. So you keep going back and forth until one person runs out of cards, or if you run out of the deck, whoever has the least amount of cards wins. If you would play a round or 2 of product pile up today, that would be great. And then I'd like you to come back to your journal and I'd like you to complete page 275. 275 is just a review of area and perimeter. It looks like this. And it says, in the spring, the garden club will plant a garden. Each child will have 1 square meter of the garden to plant. There are 16 children in the club, so the area of the garden will be 16 square meters. 4 children drew shapes for the garden below. Number 1, find the area of each shape and circle the shapes that have an area of 16 square meters. Cross out the shapes that do not have an area of 16 meters. So for A, B, C, and D, please find the area. And remember, the garden has to be 16 square meters. So cross out any that don't equal 16 and circle the ones that do. And then answer, the club wants to build a fence around the garden, but they do not want to spend a lot of money. They need to find a shape that has an area of 16 square meters and the shortest perimeter. So of the shapes A, B, C, and D that do have an area of 16, which one has the shortest perimeter? So remember, area is the area inside and perimeter is the distance around the outside. Go ahead and complete this page, 275, and then move on to Math Boxes 9.1 and later today, HomeLink 9.1. Have fun playing Product Pile Up, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.